So this is the garden. It's July of 2017. About 10 years since we started doing stuff here. And this is the view from the bedroom window, which serves as the doorway. And here we go. So that's the wall separating us from the other Hof. And my corner, which desperately needs more vegetation. We have some climbing hortensia here, which I hope takes hold. And some vinca down on the bottom, and Christrose, hosta. This stuff here, it looks like physalis, whatever you call that stuff, with the funny lantern thing. Where is one? Kind of a dirty one down there. And I'm wondering if they're edible, like the ones that you buy in the store with the orange berry. Got bleeding heart, lots of ivy, ferns, which I collected from the Kleingarten, which was being taken over by the highway. I went out and got a whole bunch of ferns, and they've spread. This one is, I named it after one of Dan's friends, Vipka, the Vipka plant. I don't even know what it is really, but it has taken really well. We have this nice ornamental tree here with orange berries eventually. It's also got a bunch of pests on it. I don't know what to do about that. And of course the holunder, lots of holunder, and I collect the berries. Made jam a few times, which was pretty good. Got my hosta, which I like very much. That fills out really nicely. And my daylilies, which they're done now. They were nice orange lilies here. This is also something I salvaged from the Kleingarten, and it's spread pretty nicely. It has a cute little purple flower. And that hosta has gotten huge. Just for the sake of color, I do get some annuals, some impatiens, New Guinea impatiens, and some kind of begonia. But ideally, I would like to have as many perennials as possible to take hold in here. Here's some more bleeding heart. Here's a nice plant with purple flowers that the bees like very much. And that's the pathway. That's the stones that we salvaged from next door. They were digging up that space to make a bicycle parking place, and we managed to take all the old cobblestone from that. And the back sheds. Here's some more of Vipka's plant. Has a really crazy berry. Eventually, dark purple, black purple thing. Got my bird bath. And more ferns, which have really... Oh, there's a bird. Oh, it just went away. Oh, there he is. There's a birdie. And ferns, lots of ivy. I don't know what this thing is, but it also has taken pretty well. I figure whatever works, I try to leave it, unless it's just really annoying. Here's some more bleeding heart. That's a white bleeding heart. And these guys. And these are the ones I learned about over at the Prinzessinnengarten from Matze. I've got my Graukresse in here, and then this other, what is it, Milleflora or something, with the funny little tiny leaves. So I leave all these guys, even when they're in the pathway. So let's back up again and get a view here. So those are the back sheds, and over here, there's my butterfly bush, which the pollinators like very much. The other wood shed where we have tons of work stuff. There's a funny two clumps of grass, which I divided from one clump of grass that my upstairs neighbor gave me. So I named it Rolf and Birgit because those are the neighbors' names. And another kind of grass which just took hold on its own. I have no idea what it is, as is the case with most things out here. But I really like it, and I try to let it do its thing here. And so I think this is some kind of phlox back here. My lupine looks pretty sad. In the past I had lupines that did quite well, and I really liked them, but right now I'm not having much luck. This thing, it's already done flowering, but it does pretty well. I love this guy, the Lungenkraut, with these spotted leaves. And it's one of the first guys to bloom in the spring. It's got that really nice pink and purple flower. I think it's really sweet. And this, my butterfly bush, smells wonderful. It's sort of like honey. And but it's really like drooping. It's very heavy. I try to prune it back in the spring, and it really grows like mad. Yeah, there's a bunch of bees here right now. Busy bees. And yeah, coming around here. My Johannisbeeren. That had a bunch of nice red berries. I've already eaten them all. That was quite nice. I have lots of mint, which has taken over the garden pretty well. I bought one little pot of it on the Maybacher Ufer market years ago, and it's everywhere now. Some Delphinium or Rittersporn, which I also used to have in the past do pretty well, and now it's looking a little thin. But and foxglove or Fingerhütte. This one I got from the Prinzessinengarten from Matze. Actually, he brought it to the botanical drawing class, and I chose it to draw, and then I took it home. And it was sitting around inside for a long time, and I finally, this spring, planted it. I'm looking forward to see it flower. Some Stockrosen, which took hold on its own. I guess it just seeded itself. And it's kind of taking over the pathway, but I let it. I like it. Some lavendel here. The little oak tree in the back, we started from a little nut that was sprouting. I found it in the park, and we brought it home, and that was about 6 years ago. So now it's, about a meter tall or so. And I'm wondering, it has a lot of, what do you call that? It's not schimmel, but some kind of, mildew, whatever, schimmel, yeah. It doesn't seem to suffer from it, but I do wonder what I should do about that. Or do I just leave it alone? I don't know. I had poppies here, which used to be pretty full, but now maybe I have to cut them back. And this is interesting here. I've got these two trees. Also, I didn't plant them, but they just arrived and took hold and grew to be pretty big. There's a kind of a maple, and then there's also a mirabelle. And I kind of regard them as a married couple because they're all intertwined here. And they seem to be happy together. Maybe you can see the two different trunks of the maple and then the Mirabella with the spikes. And it's doing pretty well. I started last year to notice a few fruits from the Mirabella, and I'm hoping there'll be more. So that's that. And then here's my, quote, vegetable garden, kind of. The only things I really have here are tomatoes and potatoes. These potatoes, some of them I started from potatoes from the Prinzessengarten. They were interesting, especially the blue ones, blue-purple kind of potatoes. So of course there's always a few left in the ground, and they come back again. This is now my third year of trying to do potatoes. But then I also had potatoes just from the kitchen that sprouted, and I put them in. And that's what these guys are, and they seem to be doing okay also. Again, the Vipka plant, which is really pretty cool. I have my oleander. This one is doing okay. The other ones that I have got a little bit stretched out. My petunias, which I love the smell of those things. They're so aromatic. And this is the trellis that we build for things to grow up. This is my wisteria. We planted it maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And it's really done well as far as like growing and getting big, but I don't have any flowers yet from it. And I'm really wondering when I ever will. It's growing across this whole affair, getting entangled. And it's also kind of intertwined with this thing. I don't know what it is, but they also seem to be quite happy together. Another married couple out in the garden here. And I do wonder about pruning. I haven't really gotten that figured out well enough. Down here, I had a really good strawberry patch. Now there's just some that seem to fringe the edge of it, mostly just the leaves, and the fruit-bearing strawberry plant kind of gave up. It was really good for about 2 years, and now it got thin, and I'm trying to figure out what I can put in here that would be good for this area, for this amount of light. With all of this stuff growing so well, I am getting a lot more shade, so I wonder if it's worth it to open up some of this again just to get some more light in. Okay, just to get a perspective on things. Now I'm looking back at the house. There's the window, the doorway into the garden. And now we're wrapping around the sheds. Here's my Himbeeren. And yeah, I do want to put a few more things in here. Here's a kind of a moss that has a sweet little flower. I'm hoping it'll spread out. So I got Himbeeren and lots of mint again. This is my Steingarten. It's a raised bed that I had it framed in. We salvaged a bunch of wood from an old attic, and they were getting rid of the beams. So we took the wood and created a raised bed here. And this is the covered fence which separates us from the other parking lot. But we're pretty nicely enclosed here. It's pretty cozy and secure. But anyway, so here we've got more of the mint, which has really exploded. And it even pokes up through the whole depth of this bed. It's almost becoming a bit of a pest because I have to deal with it and yank it out. It does take over. Here's a bunch of, well, like sedums and, well, here we have some nice ones. Again, these are rocks, stones that we salvaged from next door when they tore them up for the bicycle parking place. I have a bunch of forget-me-nots. There's the last of them flowering. They spread nicely. And in here, deep in here, is one of those cactuses that I got from Matza about 5 years ago. I don't know if you can see it. And I was warned that it suffers from too much water and does get rotten, especially in the winter if it gets too wet. And I thought it died completely, and I pulled some of it out, but now it's like coming back. I don't know if you can see it, if this focus is not working very well. Darn. Anyway. Yeah, so my approach to gardening is a bit shaggy. Partly because I'm lazy and partly because I just kind of like to see what happens on its own. But I could use a bit of guidance, I think. Here's some more lavendel. I put some Kaputzenkresse in here just because I love the leaves so much. And I like the flowers, but I'm still waiting on my flowers to come. This back corner is kind of interesting. It used to be, there was a ramp. That wall, years ago, I guess, was not there, and cars used to drive in because this was a mechanic's workplace, a Kfz, and cars would drive in through there, and there was a ramp, and we tore the ramp out and built a compost pile, which doubles as a stage. Look, I even have lights. When we have parties, we stand up there and make music and perform. But it's actually also a very nice compost pile, as you can see. I need to come and turn everything. It's due for a turning. Some more of the ferns from the Kleingarten. And my palm. This rose tree adds a very romantic element here. It's growing over the pergola, if that's what you want to call this bunch of wood that's just spanning the area here. It's already done its flowering, obviously, and I'm going to be getting a bunch of the little rosehip fruits, which I should collect. This wall is a mosaic that I put up. It's actually from glass that was bottle glass that we collected and made in Kiev. I was doing mosaics and we made a whole bunch of this material from bottles and put it in a cement mixer to make it nice and kind of matte. I think this focus is working very well. Anyway, here's some more of the wood that was from the attic that we salvaged the wood from to make a kind of a wall here. This is looking out from the stage or compost pile, whichever you prefer to think of it as. A bunch of ivy on the side of the garage. And this is funny, this table, pretty soon it's going to look like it's just hovering in the ivy. So, We call this the bourgeois bench. We come out in here and we feel very bourgeois when we drink wine. More of the stone pathway. So now I'll come back through here. And none of this was, when we moved here, this was just like full of junk and nothing was really growing out here. It was basically a, just like a lager space and a parking lot. And there really wasn't any of this stuff growing. I have pictures of it when it was completely barren. And we're here for about 10 years now. And all of this stuff has gotten really filled out. So that's my garden. Coming back out here. We'll see this, where we like to sit under the Holunder. And the problem is in early spring, the Holunder is covered with blattläuse, black blattläuse. And they kind of drop sticky stuff all over you if you sit under here. Right now they're gone, and I'm assuming that birds eat them, or they just kind of do their cycle and then fade out and then come back next year again. Right now it doesn't seem to be a problem. I don't really know how to deal with that kind of thing. I just let it go. But anyway, it's a nice place to sit here. Again, here's our corner. So that's the garden.